folks. I'm here with Ric Litofsky. Ric, native of Maryland, neighbor of mine.
That's right. That's pretty wild.
It's pretty awesome to see you here.
Yeah, thanks. We're going to meet up again for some Giuseppe's soon.
Yes, Giuseppe's Pizza in Gaithersburg, Maryland is one of my favorites.
That's where it's at.
So we had a lot of fun last night hanging out in this room. There was a media event. We got to see all the technologies in this room. This is a room with Trenov, madVR, Barco, Kaleidoscape, and per listen audio. Phenomenal system. How is it, for you, just as a fan of home theater, what is it like to be involved with a project like this?
Well, it's really fantastic, Todd, because we get to really experience the best. Arno from Trenov said it best last night. Like, this is a group that's dedicated to pushing innovation and trying to take things to the next level, doing things that have never been done before. Mm-hmm. So it really works great to be with similar folks and the same mindset where we're all just pushing for new innovation.
Right. And I was talking to Per Listen last night, and I was kind of describing it like you're getting into a Ferrari and you kind of know what to expect, right? You're going to get pushed back in the seat a little bit. It's going to be exciting. It's going to sound cool. But I really wasn't prepared for what I was going to see with that projection system last night. Can you tell us a little bit about the gear that you guys have involved with this particular demo?
Yeah, sure. So we have the madVR MV Extreme Mark II, powering the video processing in this room, doing all the HDR tone mapping and lots of other great stuff related to the aspect ratio management. We're doing some cool control things built into the MV, such as managing SDR brightness and HDR brightness separately, because that's one of the challenges they had. So this is using a Barco Nerthus, which can put out a ton of light. And I think they have this tuned to 300 nits. Earlier, it was at 500 at one point. It was a little bit,
YouTube, right?
Yeah, it was pretty. It's amazing looking, but then the trick becomes, well, what do we do for SDR, right? And so trying to manage that, especially in a show environment. So the versatility of the Envy being able to have different SDR on the Kaleidoscape menu, different SDR for the various demo clips, and then all the HDR dynamic tone mapping that we were doing. It was really phenomenal.
That's a really good point that you make there, because as you're switching between menu systems and then the movie clips, it's got to be lightning fast to make it seem seamless, and you guys definitely are pulling that off.
Yeah, thanks. It's something that we really strive for.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So it sounds like they're going to not pull this whole group together next year for a demo sound room?
Yeah, so I think Trenov is going to look to do something a little bit more smaller and a little bit more boutique. Without this, there's an incredible amount that goes on to put a room like this together. So I think, in an effort for everyone to keep things fresh, we're looking at new ways to be able to demonstrate and provide things, right?
Sure.
Especially it's a lot of the same people, each year, right? And so we're doing shows with Trenov at both giant shows like CEDIA, but then also the ISE in Barcelona every year, which is an even bigger show, right? So a lot of times it's some same old people, right, coming through.
Sure.
And so just kind of keep things fresh.
Yeah, awesome. And I think you guys are also integrated into Trenov's new headquarters up in Connecticut, correct?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, we have ME Extreme Mark II up in there as well, powering all the HDR processing and aspect ratio management. Motion AI is being used in that room on a low setting and so forth.
Yeah, and I got a chance to see that in action when they had their grand opening this year. Another phenomenal room. It's very similar to this one. Officina Acustica has built it. You guys are involved, Trenov. So it's really just such a, as a fan of home theater also.
Oh, for sure.
I just love experiencing this stuff, particularly with the DCI clips that we saw last night.
Yeah.
Just mind-blowing.
Right. It really is amazing. And I'm not sure if you know the story, I won't go into full background, but madVR Labs came to be because of my own needs for video processing in my room and this is the video processor that I wanted for myself. And so we set out to build it with my partner, Matthias, and we figured, hey, if we really make something special, other people will want it too.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys cooked up something really cool. And I think it's really important to hear that kind of backstory, because just like when we were talking to Per Listen last night, there's a passion that is driving a lot of these high-end products forward. And it's just really neat for people to hear that, because it's just not this corporate thing that is kind of chugging along, just looking to grab money. I mean, I know that everybody likes to make money also. That's what businesses are for. But I love hearing things like that, because it just makes it even more fun to experience it.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a lot of hard work, as I'm sure you know. I mean, so it is fun in a sense. Sometimes we joke around about how, like, our day, like, our job may be to sit and watch demo clips and tweak and try it again and work on things. But it is a lot of hard work, a lot of hours. You know, we're pushing 80, sometimes 90 hours a week for this rate of innovation that we're doing. And so if you're not doing it out of passion, I couldn't imagine who in the right mind would actually want to do this. So when we're working, we're not really working, we're really playing. That's the secret.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I totally get that. So a few weeks ago, I guess it's more like maybe about 5 weeks ago, you guys came out with a pretty big announcement for your company with the NV Core processor, which I think a lot of people have been looking for madVR to come out with something that's at a little bit lower of a price point.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about the why, the how behind that particular product.
Sure. So, you know, we've been doing these shows and been out, you know, very publicly with the MV for a long time now, about 5 years. And so inevitably people are always wanting to know, like, hey, can you make something more approachable for the mid-market, you know, the people that don't have the same level of budget. And so we wanted to be able to do it, but the key was to do it without sacrificing quality.
Right.
Right. And so it's madVR Labs brand on the product. We don't want to put out something that's kind of like, you know, the tone mapping is not quite as good, or the aspect ratio handling is dropping a frame or being a little slow, or things like that. We wanted sheer perfection across the board.
Okay.
And so what we set out to do was to find the right place and time where technology advanced enough where we could get our costs down enough and come up with a product that's essentially half the size, half the weight, and half the price of an MV Pro, and less than a third of a price of the MV Extreme.
Right.
And this is what we did with the MV Core. It has its name because it features all of the core processing. When you think about like a video processor and what would we need, you know, this has all the key features, right? So you have things such as your subtitle management still, right? All the same. Okay, you've got your nonlinear stretch, all the same. Your constant image height, and auto aspect ratio handling and detection, all the same. It's the exact same HDR dynamic tone mapping,
which is a big one for folks out there. The HDR tone mapping might be one of the bigger features that a processor can give them.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's really key. It really takes the picture to the next level.
It does, yeah.
And you know, all the control stuff. So the calibration control, for example, the MV is the only product on the market that can do 4,096 point 1D LUT and 16.7 million point interpolated LUT, as opposed to say a 21 point LUT and 5,000 point 3D LUT.
Can you interpret that for someone out there that is like, okay, what does that really mean?
More fine grain, more fine grain, like granularity and control. Of what you want to do with the calibration. So that's really important. So for example, in the MV Core, a lot of companies might have said, well, let's dumb down what you can do for the calibration, right? So if they want higher end calibration capabilities, you know, they would have to go up to the models. We didn't want to do that, right? We wanted to provide the video processor that can stand on its own at the core, and at $4,995, it's an incredible price point. And we are seeing a ton of people pairing these with flat panel TVs, 77 inch, 85 inch. This is a 97 inch LG OLED. And so it's a great pair for a number of reasons I could chat about if you'd like, but also entry level projectors or mid-level projectors.
Right.
Because we're getting a ton of pre-orders, and one of the questions that we ask is, what is your other gear in the system? So we know what it's being paired with.
And I think for the custom integrators, you guys have a lot of brand cachet at this point. Your website is really appealing to the eye. It's easy for them to show customers, you know, this is who we're dealing with. So yeah, I think it's a great step forward for you guys. Now, in terms of, let's think about the kind of average home theater enthusiast that is looking at this and they're like, okay, I might want to bring this into my home. What can they get out of it without reaching out to a calibrator? You know, just out of the box, is this something that someone, I know you have your NV Academy training courses and stuff online. Is this something that someone can take out of the box, set up, and get, you know, a lot of use out of?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always recommend going through a qualified dealer that can handle everything and your whole needs and understand your full system and your full vision. The product itself is easy to set up, depending on what your settings are and what you want to do, out of the box, plain vanilla, set it, put in, enter your brightness, and we explain how to measure that or how to estimate that, like in those videos. And then you're off to the races. So, we wanted to build a product that was crazy simple to use. It's one of the many things that makes our product stand alone in the marketplace. Usability, user friendliness, intuitiveness. The menu system is, highly coveted. And we wanted to keep things easy and approachable for the homeowner, so they didn't feel like they were going to have a piece of gear that might intimidate them, or they didn't quite understand how it worked, or be afraid of it. Like, what happens if I change one thing, don't know what it is, and then tomorrow
Oh, we've all been there.
the same?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So being able to do that was really important.
Sure. And the industrial design of the exterior of the unit is different than other products. What kind of went into the thought process of what you guys came up with?
Yeah. So, we can see the MB core back here. One of our design goals was get it in the 2-rack unit space.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And so that's pretty tricky when you're using the types of GPUs and cards that we're using, right? Because that would require a minimum of 3 heights, generally speaking.
Okay.
This is the same powered GPU that's used in the MB Pro, for example, and that's a 4U case. So there's a lot of engineering that went into making this, but then the trick became, how do we make it super cool and super quiet?
Is that with the front?
And this thing is very cool and very quiet. We've got 4 8mm fans, which is more than enough. But when you have multiple fans, you can run them at slower speed and get the same airflow than a few fans running at much higher speed.
Does that have to do with noise output also from it?
Yeah, so we want to make sure that the unit is quiet. Last thing you want in your home theater, is some people if you have a projector-based system, they're already dealing with the fan noise of the projector. But this, you cannot hear it unless you're standing like within maybe a foot of it. So, and it
whisper quiet.
cool and quiet. And then the design brings the air in and across it back. Now, an interesting thing that a lot of people don't know, you can't really tell from here, but I'm sure you'll show some pictures.
Yes. Yeah.
The whole front, the whole top is vented, but it's vented in a way that has a lot of style and design. In reality, from our thermal testing, we didn't have to vent the entire thing. We could have invented basically like the left third, but aesthetically, it looks nicer, and that would have looked kind of a little bit weird just to have everything off balance only where it's needed. Now, it still helps a little bit, but we could have not had any vents on it. But again, we're looking for performance. We want people to be able to have versatility in how they install this. So what does this mean? This means it can go in a rack without leaving any blank spots above and below. And it means that you can put it into a cabinet, or just you don't want to put it in a closed cabinet. You can put it, like, especially the MB core, it's going to be used a lot more in like living room spaces.
Sure.
Right, so where you might want to have it up or inside, kind of like your wall unit in the front. So cool and quiet was really high up on the priority list.
Awesome. So in terms of availability, it's coming out when officially?
Fall.
Okay, so soon.
Very soon.
Soon enough. It's a little ambiguous about when it's going to come out, but you guys are working towards that release date.
Yeah. No,
and the pricing right now is just under 5,000 up until the end of the year.
Right. The MSRP is 6,000 or 5,995. Right now it's 4,995.
Okay.
And the key thing about that pricing is we wanted to make it more approachable for that market. And we've really seen a lot of people coming in. We've had a lot of people reaching out to us and say, hey, thank you. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for hearing us. Thank you for a product that I can now consider for my theater. And being able to do this on TVs is critical, right? Because now there's 3 huge advantages on TV. One is the HDR tone mapping, okay? Vibrant colors that are correct, not blowing out highlights, not crushing blacks, and not having things that are supposed to be deeply saturated showing up as white. Okay, which is something that happens, very common. The other thing, of course, is upscaling. still doing a lot of 1080p in the US,
Right.
older Blu-ray collections, or even things such as cable TV.
Oh, yeah.
We get one 4K football game maybe on a weekend.
Yeah, and once you experience it, it's really hard to switch back to another channel and see standard definition, especially through streaming or cable.
Right. So that's a tough one. And then the other big thing, too, among a few others, is the nonlinear stretch.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people don't realize this. Our nonlinear stretch is very unique. We have a patent pending for dual axis stretch.
Okay.
This makes it so that we can stretch while still keeping it very natural looking. And then the key is on the black bars. Okay, when you're watching on a TV, it's always 16 by 9, unless you're in one of these special panels, which are really cool too. But then we're talking about more a little bit like video walls or specialty panels.
Okay.
For the most part, people have 16 by 9 things like that. So the key here is to be able to get rid of half of those black bars. Because when you're watching a scope movie on a 16 by 9 TV, you know, your level of immersion goes way down. You're like, you got this beautiful screen. Hey, look at I'm so excited, my 85-inch or whatever it is. And then you're losing almost a third of the image to the black bars. So what we find is that you can remove half of the top and bottom bar, bring back that immersion without it looking stretched or different at all. We run that at shows. We're actually here about 12 different locations throughout the show.
Wow.
Anybody that's on a 16 by 9 screen, I think most of them are actually running with some degree of that stretch on. You can't tell, and so it just brings up that big immersion. So that's a big draw, one of the reasons that people like to get into the NV Core on a TV.
That's really awesome. And you guys also take care of some other things like barrel distortion and things like that are a little bit more advanced.
Right, those things like geometry control and our motion AI and some of our other top features that are exclusive to the NV Extreme version. You know, but you're at a different price point entirely.
Right, sure. Awesome. Well, listen, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. I know you are prepping for a very busy show. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people asking you questions, but it's great to hear about all this stuff and get a little behind the scenes storytelling about the how and why with the new products.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Todd, as always. Appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, folks, like, share, subscribe, and more importantly, come and visit us at avnirvana.com and become a member of our home theater community. And we'll see you soon.